Good evening. We are here to do our special tentative budget meeting. We call this meeting to order. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, at this time, we will open up our public hearing for our proposed adoption of tentative millage rates and tentative budget for 22-23. Is there anyone here who would like to say anything about the Okay, we will invite Ms. Michelle Thomas up first and then go right into that.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Superintendent Prince. This is the tentative budget hearing, and I will provide a brief overview of the tentative budget and millage rates. At the end of the presentation, we will vote to approve tentative millage rates. After millage rates are approved, we will vote to approve the tentative budget and resolutions, all three resolutions at one time. This slide shows the taxable value, millage, and tax collection revenue estimates at 100% and 96%. We budget at 96%. Last year, we collected 96.24%. As a reminder, the board must levy the 3.231 required local effort millage and the 1 mil voted operating millage. The 0.7480 discretionary millage and 1.5 capital operating millage are maximums. The only action the board could take would be to reduce those, and I do not recommend reducing. The total millage is 6.4790. The board does not have the authority to increase the millages as they are set by the legislature, and it is our maximum millage for the 22-23 school year. This slide shows a history of the millage rates from 2007-8. Over this time frame, our highest millage rate was in 10-11 at 8.177. This slide shows the break between the operating, capital, and voted millages and where the legislature demanded a shift. Capital outlay shifted from 2 mils in 7-8 to 1.5 mils in 9-10. From 1920 through 22-23, we have an additional 1 mil voted operating millage. This slide shows the average impact to annual taxes of homeowners in the county. We get this information from the property appraiser's office each year. The average taxable value in the county increased by approximately 25.62%, and there is a reduction in the non-voted millage by 6.39%. Taxpayers on average may see an increase of $101.83. This slide shows the taxable value history in billions. The entire county's gross taxable value makes up the taxes that you will see on the next slide. This slide shows the gross tax collection history in millions, and for illustration purposes on this slide, I excluded the voted 1 mil and will show the impact of it on the next slide. On this slide, you can see the impact that the additional voted 1 mil will have on our collections for 22-23, resulting in $35 million additional revenue. This is the 4th year recognizing revenue from the 1 mil, and it cannot exceed 4 years as by law. The additional revenue generated from this 1 mil is used to recruit and retain qualified teachers, improve school security, improve mental health services, and fund other essential operations that preserve important school programs. Something to note is that tax collections and taxable values are not increasing at the same rate. From 21-22 to 22-23, the taxable value increases 25.62%, but the collections increase 18.46%. That is because the legislature mandates what the required local effort is, and they've capped all our other millages. Looking back at 2007-8, we were collecting $184 million. For consistent comparison purposes, we exclude the additional voted 1 mil on this slide. We would be proposed to collect $191 million this year, so we are currently up $6.3 million compared to that benchmark pre-Great Recession year. Cumulatively, still $486.9 million in reduced tax burden to the property owners in the county. Now, incorporating the voted 1 mil, we are proposed to collect $226 million. That puts us over by $41.2 million compared to that benchmark pre-Great Recession year, but still we are down $375.9 million in reduced tax burden to the property owners of the county. The rollback rate discussion is something we are required to talk about. Here's a table that helps to explain it. In 21-22, the taxable value was $28.9 billion. The millage rate was 6.8530. That millage rate generated $198 million. The rollback rate is a calculated rate that will generate the same revenue using this year's net taxable value. The calculated rollback rate is 5.6088. So 5.6088 times the current taxable value generates $198 million. Since we have a proposed rate of 6.4790, which exceeds the rollback rate of 5.6088, we have to compare those two and make a public statement that the proposed rate is 15.51% greater than the rollback rate. Here's a summary of the budget. This includes beginning reserves, revenues, appropriations, and ending reserves. Grand total of, ready? $939,100,901, which is amended throughout the year by official board action. Wow. Does anyone want to address the board prior to the board voting on the proposed millages, budget, and other resolutions?
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. The public at this time will be invited to speak to the board regarding any of those millage rates budget. Okay, seeing that there is no one that will speak to in behalf of that from the public, Dr. Prince, would you take us through?
Okay, I recommend the board approve the tentative required local effort millage of 3.2310 mils as specified in the resolution 2223 trim, tentative A.
Board members, the superintendent has made his recommendation. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Kelly, second by Mr. Ingersoll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried 5-0.
I recommend the board approve the tentative district school tax discretionary operating millage of 0.7480 mils as specified in the resolution 2022-23 trim, tentative A.
Board members, the superintendent has made his recommendation. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Ingersoll.
Second.
Second, Ms. Hawley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Superintendent?
I recommend the board approve the tentative district discretionary local capital improvement millage of 1.5 mils as specified in the resolution 2223 trim, tentative A.
Board members, may I have a vote on this? Motion and second, please.
So moved.
So moved, Ms. Hawley. Second by Mr. Ingersoll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 5-0. Superintendent?
I recommend the board approve the tentative district additional voted millage of 1.0 mils as specified in the resolution 2022-23 tentative A.
Superintendent has made his recommendation. Board, may I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Kelly. Second by Mr. Ingersoll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 5-0. Superintendent?
I recommend the board adopt the 22-23 tentative budget in the amount of $939,100,901.
Superintendent has made his recommendation. Board members, give me a vote, please.
So moved.
So moved, Ms. Hawley. Second, Mr. Ingersoll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries 5-0 again. Superintendent?
I recommend the board adopt resolution 2223 trim, tentative B, resolution 2223 trim, tentative C, and resolution 2223 trim, tentative D as submitted.
Superintendent has made his recommendation. Board, give me a vote, please.
So moved.
So moved, Ms. Hawley, second by Mr. Ingersoll. Any of you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We close out this portion of the public hearing, and we open up the approval of amendments for school board policies. The board will conduct a public hearing to receive comments from the proposed approval of the amendments of the different policies set before you. At this time, anyone in the public, would you like to speak on behalf of any of these? Seeing there is none, Superintendent, may we have your recommendation?
I recommend the board adopt the proposed amendments to policies 4.21, 4.22, the library access form, the automatic external defibrillators, AED, the new policy, the code of student conduct, and the elementary, middle, high student progression plans for 21-20, it should be 22-23.
Superintendent has made his recommendation.
Let me amend that. Sorry about that. It's an update on the elementary, middle, high school student progression plan 21-22, updated.
Okay.
Thank you.
This time, board, vote. We
So
take a
moved.
vote.
So moved.
Kelly? Second by Ms. Hawley. All in favor? Any opposed? This motion carries 5-0. At this time, we have ended our meeting. We are adjourned.